Moving on to scenario 2. Here's a fun picture of us walking through the streets of downtown Namur. All of the standard occupants of the city are a little confused as to what we're doing, and we're very obviously American. So they're, I don't know if they're worried, concerned, or curious. Maybe a little bit of all of the above. So we had a bit of a hike through the city, uh, probably a half mile from the theater to what will be a bridge scenario. And this is us the entire day one. It looks exactly like this, just moving all of our gear through the entire city. All the people were super friendly. They were obviously curious that we were there, but they were also very welcoming. They don't really speak a ton of English. It's mostly French in Namur. Although I'm told that the entire state of Belgium is, you know, very diverse, and like I don't know, the northern parts, western speak German, the southern speak some French, and there's a few other languages tossed in there. Anyways, we had a pretty long hike, and we have to take all of our gear. Only the team can carry gear. This is us. You can't see it, but we have a wheel that we borrowed from Max there with the Belgian firefighters because we didn't bring a wheel, despite them encouraging us to. Anyways, the one of the wheels or both of the wheels were flat, so we just kind of trudged along through it. It was better than nothing. So here's an idea of what's happening. We were to stage in this general area. There's some of the judges and organizers getting ready for this next evolution. There was a prior evolution completed and is still currently being completed, roughly. While we're waiting back here, getting our bearings, getting some stretching in, kind of debriefing the last scenario and what we maybe could potentially expect on this one. Obviously, we can walk over here and look. We did. But you don't want to make too many assumptions because they, again, could always throw curveballs at you. And, your assumptions about what is going to happen can sort of inhibit your thinking for what needs to happen. And we've learned that over the last couple of years. Don't make too many assumptions. Don't plan too heavily initially. Adapt and overcome later. So we like to think we're pretty good at that, and that is our style. We move pretty well in the moment, which you could argue against, I guess, if you want, but we're pretty confident in each other and in our individual capabilities. And that's how we like to operate. Again, we like to operate in a way that we can make the best decision at the time. And we'll deliberate as we have time. But we do it all inside of an hour and a half or, less, which is most time limits on most scenarios. But yeah, this is the bridge we're on. And I'll get to more pictures in a minute. They did have the rescue boat active the entire time. We are over water. Everybody gets nervous, especially with litters involved over the water, because the patient can't defend themselves if you drop them. I was told it was very shallow. It's not moving very much right here at all. But there were 2 rescue boats in the water the entire time with water teams in them. So we've skipped ahead in time a little bit, and I'm just showing you this so you can get an idea of what the entire scenario looks like. I'll show you the top of the bridge in a minute, but we start on top of the bridge. This is a pedestrian walkway up here, and then next to it is a railway. There's a commuter train that goes that blitzes by on that guy pretty often. So, and then this gap right here is important. So the entire team started on top of the bridge. The patient started down here. So this is me and Topley over here. But you can see this is the Hong Kong team, I believe. Anyways, this is their patient. So there's a drop set here. And then we have these access lines through here. I'll go over a little bit of how the access was to be made. but we had to do a scoop, basically. Patient suspended. Down here is just a worker who forgot how to go up and couldn't go down, obviously, because of the water, so they were just stranded. Nothing medically wrong with them, despite doing a full patient assessment. I talked to him the entire time and kept him calm and all of that stuff. But he was a fully ambulatory patient, which would, this maneuver, I've debated about this with a few people very recently. A midline scoop or sweep, mid face scoop, whatever you want to call it, a lot of people think isn't terribly practical, and I'm inclined to agree with them. Anyways, it's a game, it's a competition. It's what we're here to do. I guess you could say if this guy was, had taken a fall and he was fully immobilized, I don't know. He's got a harness on. He's a rope access tech, so it's hard to get there in, magic Christmas land, fairy tale land, your imagination, whatever. Anyways, we had to do the scoop. With a fully ambulatory patient, so he could move, he could help, he could do whatever I need him to do, and he's an access tech, so he even understands what the equipment is or is called and all those things. He could get in the basket. So normally this is very difficult, especially if that patient is non-ambulatory or passive, passed out, whatever you want to call it. This becomes a lot harder very instantly. And you can, I'm sure, imagine trying to move dead weight around and get it parked in a litter while you're suspended without dropping anything in the litter, get it positioned correctly and balanced and all that stuff, get the patient tied in would be tough. This is probably 2 people down here minimum to get a non-ambulatory patient into the litter. But that was the move. Topley was suspended over here. His lines are deviated a bit. He's on the red. I'm on the white right here. Just like these guys were. This guy is just getting to him. They started after us. He's just getting to his patient right here. Yeah. So here's another view of our patient and how he's stuck. He's just in a rope access system. He is stuck in ascent. He's in his ascender. This is us viewing from the top rail of that pedestrian walkway on the bridge looking down at him. So we started right here from this perspective that you're viewing. We can make verbal patient contact right here, which Buck did. Just to confirm there's nothing wrong. He is responsive. Nothing medical we need to bring down there, just so we're more prepared before we turn the edge. What to expect when we get there. But yeah, he's just stuck in ascent, and he forgot how to climb. Basically, he couldn't go up. He didn't have any way out, so we got to go get him out. Here's the view from the top of that bridge. Again, this is the pedestrian walkway, and this is our lane. You can see it's kind of delineated by the tape there. A team is right next to us, and the Hong Kong team is right behind us where we're standing currently. Don't have a ton of pictures or videos from up top right here. Like, I can't show you all the sexy rigging these boys did. Not in great detail anyway, because it's so congested. Like, we've only got 10 feet of lane to work with, so the photographers don't have great places to be without being in the way. But this is Buck right here looking over the edge and talking to Topley, who's dangling down right here. So our goal, obviously we all start right here. I think I've already turned the edge from this picture. Robert's kind of spotting me. They're starting to think about their rigging options right here. We had to access over this rail right here on this side. You can see this is one of the little tie-offs for the Edge Pro. And then we had to bring the patient up through here. There is a gap that you'll see more clearly in a minute between these 2 bridges. The train's coming through right now, which is really cool. They didn't do that just real often. But there's a very small gap, just big enough to fit, 1 person and a litter, apparently, through this gap, up and over and back to where we started from, essentially. So here's another view of that one. This is a bit more stylized. It was a Scalotech photographer that took all these photos, so he's trying to get his logo in there. But it's a decent picture of what's happening. So everybody's leaning over the edge talking to Topley, and they're watching me work down here. I made access. I'll go through what I did in a second. I'm not trying to be selfish in these videos. These first 2 scenarios were like, okay, Kel, you're up. So it's an access problem. I'm the access guy, so I sent it. Not that any one of these dudes weren't capable of doing the same thing. They all certainly were. I was just the choice. I did what I was told by team lead. But you can see these little uprights for the rail were what we used for anchorages up here. I can't remember because I wasn't up there. I didn't really pay attention to look at it when I got down, when we got everything back up. But I think they took 2 of these, equalized a point to build a haul system that went over this rail with rollers. I think it was a drop loop. I'm not sure. We'll look at the photos in a second. But then they just hauled from back here through clutches, 3 to 1 probably. I climbed on my own line, so they really only had to haul Topley up by himself in the litter. So 1 person load and 3 to 1 for these boys is light work. No big deal. So pretty straightforward rigging down here. Nothing just real crazy. Sling these is a little skinny to get slings in and out of there, but they managed it. You can kind of see the gap a little bit over here between these 2 side panels. And yeah, bring him back up. Okay, so here's what the access looked like. I can talk about this in pretty great detail because I'm the one that did it. So over the edge right here, there is a short Re-Belay, and you can see a couple of the other teams doing it. A team's right in the middle of theirs, their first short Re-Belay, re-anchor, right here. I am navigating mine. I didn't, I'll be honest, I didn't care for the way they rigged these, which, you know, in a rescue, you're not guaranteed to supervise the rigging, but they were just re-anchored through clove hitches, which is fine, but it creates a weird twist in the rope that you have to manage in a short Re-Belay right here, and you can see my tails are super twisted, so I just had to spend more time than I really cared to, and I'm just being picky, obviously. More time than I really cared to sort those and make sure I got the correct ropes for my main lines and backups, and I didn't get hung in the loop, which is a very common thing when you're doing re-anchors. Is you get your gear, or you get your backup device, or something crossed in the loop. Feet get tangled. All of this shit I have hanging off of me gets tangled. So it's worth taking the time, keep your house clean, and get all that sorted. So short Re-Belay, re-anchored right here into a large Re-Belay. Large Re-Belay, super straightforward. Descenders on this side, ascenders on this side, pull the slack through and kind of cross haul yourself over, no big deal. And then I will transfer onto these red lines right here that Topley's using to keep himself square just so he can watch. And I'll be right next to the victim. So yeah, I mean, to go into, I guess, greater detail, because I promised that, I am using a Spark for descent and an ASAP on the downhill side. I always keep my ASAP on the downhill side because it doesn't matter what device you put on the uphill side of a re-anchor or rope-to-rope transfer. If I'm going this way, or right to left in this case, I'm going to put my second device on this side, because either ASAP or whatever other device I have, a duck or a red, I carry a red for reasons. My red is going to go up on this side. Regardless, ASAP, whatever device you're going to use there, you're going to have to push it up as you travel. If you go up these ropes at all, you're going to have to push it up. Now, you don't have to move it up a whole lot, but the ASAP I can forget about. If I put my towable device, my red, over here, then I would have to manually move it down the line, which is kind of a pain. So ASAP on the downhill side for me every time, and then my ascenders over here, making sure I get my chest and hand ascender over there, because we're in Irada country, and they won't necessarily, I don't think, the rules for GRIMP were probably different. I don't think they'd let me get away with just using a chest ascender and pulling over here and no handled ascender. So I went with the Sprat rules because I'm a Sprat guy, so that was the move I made there. So I had to get to him, obviously, and I said he's stuck in ascent. He's stuck in ascent right here, so I have to pick him off again. So 2 scenarios in a row, Kel's doing pickoffs. Topley's quite a bit smaller than Brown is, and that's why we chose him as our victim. He's also incredibly helpful as a victim. I'll be completely transparent there because he knows what he's doing, and that is useful. Your victim still has to be pretty capable. They have to be able to get into position. So Topley was taken over to this drop set by the boat, so we had to get off of the boat and climb up onto these ropes. So you still have to be able to do stuff as the victim. The rules read pretty minimum requirements. Topley might have been the most overqualified victim at the competition, but I don't know. I didn't talk to every victim. Anyways, I went through the Re-Belays, got to him. I'm going to do a pick here. I'm just doing a simple counterbalance, and I'm going to park him in his descender, which is a spark. So he's stuck in his ascender. I'm going to park him in his descender because I know the plan is to put him in the litter. I'm going to do a mid-phase scoop, so I don't want to put him on me because then I can't get him in the litter very easily at all. So I'm just going to park him in his own system. He's got fully capable kit, so no big deal. His stuff is already assembled over here. He's got an ASAP on this red line behind his shoulder. He's got a get up right here, his hand descender. I'm just going to do a counterbalance. So I'm getting, I stole his foot tape because I want to keep my stuff where it is so I can use it and I know where it is. I don't want to ditch it and forget about it and have to hunt for it later. That's kind of the competition mindset. I'm using the carabiner that's on his cow's tail already. I girthed my foot tape through the becket on the top of his chest ascender, which that CT chest ascender is really nice for that because there's a nice large becket as opposed to some where it's like really thin and you can't grab it with anything. Um, and the just like I talked about in the previous video, the closer you can get to that device that he's actually stuck on, the better, as opposed to going to his sternal. I could certainly do it off of his sternal, but I just have to travel farther. I have to sit him up in line with this rope first and then stand up and pick him up. But just doing a counterbalance, and I've got his descender ready to go. As soon as I pick him off of this chest descender, I'll take up on the tail end of this spark, and he'll be there. He'll be in position. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. I did it pretty quickly. And then we're gonna wait. I brought this purple line you see dangling with me. That is my kind of tagline or messenger for the litter, like you see these guys have back here. I got to get the litter to me to load him in. All right. So they dropped. I got the litter to me. Obviously, Topley's picked off. He's in descent. His ASAP. You can see it behind his right shoulder right there. I'm in descent, keeping myself slightly higher than him so I can always go down to position as opposed to, having to change over or ratting up or whatever. Always easier to go down than up, gravity and all that. Here's a pretty good look at our litter rig if you care. This is the foot end right here, so I'm going to have Topley kind of spin around and I'll help him and he'll poke his head up through this way. The boys up top sent a couple lines down, so these are our two main lines. And they just deadheaded them in the litter, obviously. So no drop loop, mystery solved. And then you see these two prussics hanging off of there. We keep those on there. We learned that trick from one of the other guys around in the industry as we've gone through competitions. If I were to ride the basket, I would plug two lanyards into both of these rings, both on both, so we're loading both ropes evenly, and that allows me some freedom to move above the bridle. If I plug myself into the bridle, then it's quite a bit more challenging to move my systems up. It's not a big deal, but I've got pre-installed rope grabs right here that are soft, that don't really affect any rigging. I know what you're thinking. If we go through an AHD or something, we're going to lose this headroom. Yeah, that's true, but that's also why we tied the scaffold knots right here, because those are the lowest gain knot around for this kind of stuff. And so if you can kind of visualize if we'd have tied figure eights or something right here, we'd be about the same. So we're gaining a lot here by using those. I just anticipate questions about that, so whatever. But you can see our little rig right here. This is a Kong rally plate. Got a wingman straight into that. We can break this apart if we want to. That wingman is then through, this is an Edelrig Cupid ring, which you can take off very easily, much more easily than any other ring, because it's just a button you have to push. It's a very small button, so you have to have a pokey thing, sharp, pointy thing. I keep a pin on me for this exact scenario. And then that is through a Scalotech tuner that's equalized between the rails, side rails of the litter on both sides. So it just floats right there in the middle. And then we just have some Purcell prussics on this side to balance it. Litter bridle aside, that's the bridle we like to run. We've experimented quite a bit. There's some improvement that could be made. We had a soft link that was on this post of the litter, and we ditched it at one point and lost it. So we just ran the carabiner there, and if we keep this tuner tight, then it doesn't see any crossload. That was just kind of an executive decision we made. But you can see us having fun right here. We're poking fun at someone over here on the shore sideline. Just having a good time while we're out here, because that's why we're here. It's all good fun. But yeah, I'm gonna kind of break this out a little bit. I'm getting the straps ready to go right here. You can see me folding them all open. And then we have 2 foot tapes, one on either side connected to posts, so that I can put them in the victim's feet so they have something to stand on if we were to pike the litter, go vertical with it, which we will do through that skinny gap, which is a ton of fun. But that helps the patient quite a bit. If he had some sort of lower extremity injury, tib fib fractures or something like that, then we would just ignore that foot tape, depending on the injury. If we wanted to keep it in compression, then we'd probably keep that on and suck it up real tight and then stabilize in other ways. If we needed traction, we definitely wouldn't put it on there. We would leave it off and keep the traction independent of something. But that'd be really gnarly if we had to pull traction and move a patient in a litter like this. I've never done that. But yeah, I got the litter to me through that little messenger system. I am going to stay on my own lines. I am not going to go into the rings like I spent all that time just talking about. I'm going to stay on my own lines. I'll go into ascent and I'll just move up right beside him. And I'll keep a hand on the basket right next to the patient. So I'm attending the litter the entire time. And this is where the modern access techniques really come in handy with the rescue, because traditional American Fire Service rescue would say, no, you need to ride the basket to attend to that patient. There's nothing medically seriously wrong with him. So you can make that argument outside of that. But I don't want my haul team to have to haul up 2 people. So I'm going to climb by myself. Topley is going to ride the basket. I'll be right next to him. I'll be able to manipulate the basket. I can pike it. You'll see me do that in a second through some other photos. But this makes it way easier and faster for the record on the haul team. So we can get this guy out of here because we don't want him hanging here for several reasons, suspension trauma and so on and so forth. Okay, so here's me once again. I promise I'm not being selfish and just showing videos of myself. I just don't have a ton of photos from what the guys are doing up top. I will show those in a second. But also, if I'm honest, I did all of the rescue work here in the access and the packaging, and those are the pictures that I have. I didn't ask anyone to take pictures of me specifically. I know some of my teammates are getting butt hurt right now. But that's okay. I will show some pictures of them working in a minute, and then there are many, many, many other scenarios where I am not as involved as these first 2, and they'll be doing their Lord's work up there. But I'm just climbing next to the litter, just like we discussed. I'm rope walking for the record, so well, I'm rope skipping. That's the term I like to use. I don't have a knee ascender like an arborist would. I'm not using my TASLEV for this because it's such a short ascent here. And we're moving quickly here. I wish I had video of this, but I don't. And for that I apologize. But yeah, I'm in my chest ascender. I got my hand ascender right here. I got a hand on one of the rigging lines that Topley's on, so I can reach him at any time. My knees are literally kicking the side of the basket, so I can very easily make adjustments. I am attending the patient is my point there. But yeah, rope walking or rope skipping. Sorry, I've got my ASAP on back here. They set me new access lines down here. To get all the way to the top, because the previous ones I was on were anchored to the bottom of the bridge and not over the rail, which is where I need to be to make it all the way to the top. So I went ahead and transferred to those, and rope and foot ascender, rope and chest ascender, rope and hand ascender, and then ASAP line that lets me climb the rope a lot like a ladder if you've ever seen rope walking or rope skipping before. Here's a good picture of the litter and how it's balanced. This little red strap is the foot end kind of hand strap that I'll pass up to the rescuers up top in a minute, so that once we pike the litter, they can just pull up. I got a almost identical one up top. Well, it is identical except that it's blue on the head end, so they'll pull that up and over when we pike and pivot the litter. Yeah. Topley's feet are in those stirrups, like we talked about, which is just 2 Skywatech Mamba foot tapes. They're adjustable really easily. This is his personal one that's just hanging off of his hip. He definitely has 2 on his feet, so that when we pike him, he has something to stand in. Okay, so here's Robert up top doing the real work. He's doing some of the hauling right here. I assume we're very close to the edge, and that's why Hanley's not back here, or Buck actually pulling on these. So Robert's probably making small adjustments up or down. Um, but you can see these were my initial access lines to get over the edge. And then they've got, looks like 2X monsters to 2 of these upright posts equalized to a plate, and then probably just 2 clutches on this plate. A lot of people make fun of us. I say us, I'm almost never hauling like this. They make fun of the haul team that we have because we often sit down like this to make these moves. It's a very short throw here, like it might be 10 feet across this walkway. So the Captos are kind of off screen over here, and then Marciniak, our team lead, or Buck are doing the resets kind of remotely with those soft shackles on the Captos, which is a mint technique for sure. But yeah, people make fun of us for sitting down like this. But we all know when you pull in line with the system, you're getting much more efficiency, more contact surface area with the pulley and all that. And you know, Robert's a big dude, so he's not pulling himself across. It's 3 to 1, so his input is a third of what the weight is on the other end. He's cozy. He's having fun. We've done this before, and if you have a little kick plate right here to push off of with your legs, and you're just kind of leaning back and rowing, it's actually really efficient and really quick as long as someone can do your resets for you. So we do this often, especially with a short throw or short haul field. Um, and it works out really well. And you are positioned very close or right next to, conveniently, the rigging plate that he can just turn around and lower something out really quickly. So as opposed to walking back and forth here like a lot of people tend to like to do, this is actually a pretty professional move right here. We do this often. Even the judges look at us funny sometimes when we do this, but that's how we like doing it. Whatever. And then we have rollers over the edge. The edge that our ropes are going over this way look exactly like this edge. So we have a big mat and then rollers. The rollers make moving over an edge like that so much more convenient because we're probably sharper than 90 degrees by the time it's all said and done. So just like a mat would be quite a bit more of a fight to move that load. Wouldn't be as efficient as the rollers. We use the DMM patrollers, which have bearings on them. They're mounted to a mat in case they skip out. But the bearings, there's several individual bearings as opposed to one long wheel across the edge roller. So if your ropes are moving in 2 different directions, like a drop loop, for instance, they play well together. Meanwhile, here's what's happening to the basket. So I am in the process of parking the litter. I'm going to turn it vertical. So this wingman that connects to the master point of our bridle, I'm blowing it out, right? And we do this a fair. I'm not saying we're special and we're smarter or anything. We just do some things differently. What most people do on their bridle, whether they're using a wingman or an Aztec or a Jag or what have you, is they'll take, this is the tail, like that you would pull down to tighten all this up. They'll take the tail, so the whole wingman would be flipped, right? Most people want the handle up here by the bridle. We don't like doing this, and Topley developed this technique as the original Rescuer 1 for CTR. We leave it on the bottom so that we still keep our 4-to-1 and we can pull down because that's ergonomically convenient. But what most teams do is they flip this, the handle end up here, and this end obviously would be down here. But then you have to pull up to tighten everything, right? And you know the handle's right here, and that's convenient. But you still want to be able to pull down, just because it's way more convenient. And if you need to take that little tail that's in my hand and pop it in your foot ascender or something and step in it to really get it tight, because once you start flattening this guy out after you suck all this back up, it gets pretty physical and difficult, even in a 4-to-1, because you're kind of pulling against the other side of the basket too in these purcells. Anyways, we put it down here and then we operate that handle. You can see me doing it right here. I'm glad somebody got this photo. You can see me doing it with my foot. So you just trigger that with your foot. Make sure you keep that brake strand in your hand. And you can still be able to pull down when you want to flatten a litter out. But you can blow it out pretty easily. And the benefit of this is if you do that with your foot, then you're also pushing down on that. So sometimes it can be a little tricky to fight all of the turns in the rope and the inefficiency of the pulleys because they're really tiny, and pull the rope out of the bag. The wingman bag is down here for the record, so we keep it down there pretty regularly. But yeah, I can push down on this to really get him vertical, and it moves really quickly. You have to be quite agile as a rescuer, but even if I were hanging off of the prusiks that were up here on those rings, off of the bridle master point, I'd still be able to do this pretty easily with small adjustments in my own system. You can see me on the separate ropes right here with my handle descender and in my chest descender. But yeah, I like doing this quite a bit, as opposed to the other way around, and then you put a roll clip or something up top to redirect it one more time, and you end up with a 5-to-1 pulling down. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of that. It's just more mess, more rope in play, more throw, more to manage. It can be convenient. I've seen other teams too take the wingman apart and make a single pulley down here as opposed to a double. Still put that down at the bottom, but then I'm left with less. I'm left with less mechanical advantage, and I don't like that either because again, it can be really difficult to flatten a litter out. But all of that aside, that's just equipment selection and technique. We have to pike him now, obviously. So I blew those purcells out a bit, so I make sure they clear his head, and then all of this will end up, right on top of the litter, and he will end up fully vertical. And usually it ends up because you have to blow this all the way out so it's not crushing his face. He ends up a bit pitched forward, which isn't ideal, but that's just how it goes. So here's a really good look at the gap. Now there's a lot of uprights here that stick out, and we're kind of in between the ribs of that handrail. And this is the guardrail for the train. And this is, again, a very skinny gap. This isn't an exact measurement at all. Like I said, we're in between all of this. But the tricky part about this is normally you don't have a structure of any kind out here, and you can kind of get the litter up on the rail and then pivot the feet up, right? So you have all this sweep with the feet. This we couldn't do that, so we had to take it really, really far up, which is where our big, strong guys, and there are 4 guys up here with hands on the litter that can help do this. You can see Marciniak, Buck, and Robert right here. Hanley would be on the rigging in the back, I guess. So they're having Hanley haul up while they pull. I am pushing from the bottom. You can see my arm right here. I'm still on my own set of ropes. That's this stuff right here. I've switched to descent now, so I'm in more of a rad, which makes it easier and safer to turn the edge for the record. But we're just going to shove him up, and at a certain point we'll have to stop hauling. So once the head of the litter gets up here, we'll kind of have to stop hauling a bit and just move it by hand so that we have the throw and the space and the ropes to really just pull him up. These guys coordinated all of that. I had nothing to do with any of those decisions. They did it really smoothly. All I'm doing now at this point is just pushing up from the bottom as best I can and keeping Topley's feet from getting hung on anything, because that is the trick here, because we can't pivot him up or his feet are going to get crushed or trapped in this, and that could get real squirrely real quick. So they're just going to pick him up, set him on top of the rail, and get him flat. His feet will end up touching all of this, and then they'll get hands on, and they'll just slide him back and set him down horizontal and manage the belay on that. That's all it'd be at that point for the haul lines. So here's a little bit clearer picture of the next move. You can see a lot of the gear right here. Here's those DMM patrollers mounted on that chafe mat. But yeah, they're going to pivot the litter and just sliding back. It's just Buck and Robert with hands on the litter right now. Marciniak's on the head somewhere, and Hanley is down here in the corner on the rigging. So I'm basically transferring patient care to Buck. He's the medic, and everyone else is taking direction from him roughly. Team lead's starting to think about cleanup and what it means to actually finish this exercise. So I'm going to have to get myself up and over the rail. I'll talk through that in a second, but they're just going to slide him back. All right, so I bring this picture back, not to show what they're doing with the victim or the basket or anything, but I think this is the best look that I have of how I get up and over the edge right here, or any rescuer that's over. So separate access lines that go all the way up and over this rail right here that are anchored back to that plate that I just showed you, as opposed to my other lines, the red and white that I had earlier I made the pickoff on, are anchored at the bottom of this bridge, which obviously isn't ideal for getting me up and over. So they thought through all of that, helped me out. I didn't have to do anything there. But I am in a rad system, okay? So I'm in my decent control device right here now, and then I have my backup device on another line. I'm using my red right here because I was going up either which way, and I didn't care. And the red is actually capable of a 2-person load rescue if I needed to do anything and attach the basket to me or something weird. But I'm in rad for a reason. Rad is in rapid ascent descent system. Um, that means I'm 3-to-1. I've got the Skylotech quick roll with the little pulley on the back. I absolutely love that hand descender. And then I have my foot tape in here as well, so that I can just pull down, and I am 3-to-1. I guess I can just pull down to move myself up, and that matters because once I get up to this edge right here, so basically once my hand descender gets up to this edge and I kind of collapse that system a bit, I can take my tail out of this pulley. It's very quick and easy. It's a non-locking gate. And I can hand the tail on the back end of my spark to one of these guys. It was Robert in this case. And then usually we rig an atria or the soft ladder over this edge. I can put one foot in that. Robert can rip my tail and I can just climb, and he can, Robert can move things. Hanley did it to me once in Japan, and he just threw me over a parapet wall this way. But I give my tail to them so they can help me get up and over quickly. So I flop the edge. It looks pretty dirty when you do it, but it doesn't matter because you're safe. You can DC your whole system and then rip your tails, rope bags, or whatever up and over the edge for time because we're doing this all for time. It's also safer, for the record. The access instructor in me feels the need to say this, but when I run job sites, I make everyone who turns a 90-degree edge, or really any edge, on the way up, I make them switch to their descender and rad through that edge, as opposed to being in your ascender or your chest ascender, your kroll, because krolls do not like to be cross-loaded. Okay, so if my kroll is sitting here and my rope path goes straight back over this edge toward the anchor, the rope coming out of the top of that kroll will make a 90-degree turn, and I've seen them pop out before. I've seen the teeth on those shred ropes, and it's just all around a bad idea. So I don't let people do it on my job sites. I'm not going to do it in competition. This is easier, faster, safer, all the way around. It does take one move to switch from ascent to descent, but if you practice your access skills, it's not a big deal to make that move. And then cheers. We did it. High fives, fist bumps, all of that. This is right after Robert ripped me over, so he's usually the one who pulls me over, so me and him have a little moment every time we do that. Because when the rescue is over, that usually means we're done. Topley's down here with his fancy little neck pillow getting out of the basket. Buck's pretending to maintain patient care for the judges and all that, but he's done too. You can see him writing things down. This was a really fun scenario. I enjoyed it a lot. I like rope access, so I got to do the access things. Re-Belays are fun to me. Pickoffs are fun to me. I'm not a big fan of midline sweeps or scoops with the litter, but it's competition. So that was still fun. It was an easy scoop as far as scoops go. We didn't have any major snags or hiccups as far as I'm aware. I was relatively isolated from the rest of the team the entire time, so I don't know if they encountered anything up top. We didn't go over anything. I didn't hear about anything in our debriefs. So it was a really smooth rescue. So 2 scenarios in on day 1, and we're feeling pretty strong, pretty confident. We are performing like we know that we can. We're performing like we want to, which is the goal at the end of the day. Yeah, we want to win, but we want to see our training come to fruition and know that all the things that we've worked on work out. We mixed in a lot of new equipment and a lot of new techniques this go round, and we improved, which is very, very gratifying. So it was a great time. Cool location, cool venue. It was a ton of fun all the way around.